Hey Fit Vegans in the making. Today I want to explain to you the intuitive eating scam, as you see right here. I'm not saying that all of this is a scam, obviously, or it could also be from people that do not know anything about evolutionary biology. But generally, intuitive eating makes no sense and have a strong stance against this eating. And here's exactly why. What intuition means, you see the definition here, is to understand something without conscious reasoning, which means to understand something without using your brain, frankly. Today I'm going to use my brain and going to explain to you 3 points why intuitive eating doesn't make any sense in my opinion. Let's just jump right into it. What few people know, or what a lot of people on the intuitive eating crowd say, is that our body just knows. Our body knows what is right for us. Our body knows what we should be eating to stay slim, to stay in the best shape of our life. I'm here to tell you that this is absolute freaking bullshit, for the lack of better words. And here's exactly why. See, one of the biggest problems, and probably one of the leading causes of this obesity epidemic, is that our current genome, our current body, is not suited for our environment. See, we have evolved over millions of years in an environment, you see this right here, of scarcity. So this is corn, but like very little corn. To now, we're in an environment of abundance, with the same genome, with only marginal changes. What this leads to is an excess of resource intake, therefore an excess of body fat, simply because our genome, as said before, is not suited to our environment. And as Michael Greger put it great in his new book, the question is not why are so many people overweight, but the question is why are not all people overweight. So the thing is, technically, if you put us back 1,000,000 years ago into a jungle, then yes, this intuitive eating probably would make sense because our body is suited to this environment. Right now, our body is not suited to the new environment. That's why this our body knows thing doesn't make any sense, because we are operating with flawed material. We are operating with material that has been used, that has been in existence millions of years and has not been in existence right now, or doesn't make any use in today's environment, sadly. The second point is that the food industry specifically knows this fact, and it exploits this to the absolute T. See, if you take a look at a donut, for example, a donut has little to no actual valuable nutrients in there. All the donut has essentially is making sure that they have aroma, so artificial aroma, artificial sweeteners, all that stuff which tricks your body to believe that there's any resources in there when in fact it isn't. So the food industry knows this fact, that we have evolved in scarce resources, and exploits this to the absolute T. So, for example, my father, he tells me that he just knows if he eats something sweet, something really, just something bad, frankly, like a donut, it's good for him because it makes him feel good. And this is wrong reasoning, because why you actually feel good after eating that? Because the food industry wants you to feel good. Because there's some components in there, like artificial sweeteners, which make you feel good short term. So the food industry knows this fact about their body and exploits it to the absolute T. The third point right here is that even if you would be in, let's say, 1,000,000 years ago or so, we would still have a brain. And why this is a bad thing when you're trying to lose weight is that your brain is not your ally sometimes. Okay, your brain can be working against you in some craft. See, if you take a look at the brain, essentially all of animals that we see right now on this planet do have brains, which means brains would need to give you an evolutionary advantage. So humans, or like people, or like animals with brains, strongly outlive the animals without brains, because that's just how it looks like, because we see right now a lot of animals with brains. So brains used to have an evolutionary advantage, to put this simply. So what this means, essentially the brain in all animals has three functions. And these three functions are to maximize pleasure, minimize pain, and minimize caloric expenditure. What brains essentially are direct slaves to our genome. Our genome created the brains because the feedback mechanism of genomes, now this gets really complex, but I'll try to explain this as simple as possible. The feedback mechanism of our genome is about 25 years, that's one generation. Okay, so if you would have a plant, for example, a genome cannot influence this like on a second-to-second basis. So what the genome did is to put an immediate feedback mechanism in place, which is our nervous system. For example, if I would not have a brain, I would not be capable of moving. So if I would touch a hot stove, I couldn't pull my hand back. So what the brain is an immediate feedback mechanism that directly follows the genome. And what we've seen before, that like is a slave to the genome, so to speak. And what we've seen before is that our genome is wrongly suited to our environment, which means our brain, which is created by the genome, is the same thing too. So your brain helps you greatly when it comes to survival, helps you when it comes to outrunning like a tiger, for example, or gathering some food. But it doesn't really help you when it comes to bigger pursuits like weight loss, or making something out of your life, like starting a career that you love. So you shouldn't always listen to your brain. Your brain is not your ally all the time. So these were 3 points that we have to take a look at why intuitive eating is a scam. Number one, we have to understand that our body is not suited to our environment. We have evolved when resources were scarce to now we're in absolute abundance. This is not always a good thing. Second thing is that the food industry knows this fact and exploits it to the absolute T. The food industry knows that we've evolved, that we're living in a body which is not suited to our current environment and makes it even harder for us essentially to eat intuitively, because it exploits the facts, it changes the foods so we eat them more, so to speak. And the third point is that our brain is not always our ally. In fact, in some pursuits, in some bigger pursuits, it can be our enemy. So thank you, Fit Vegan in the Making. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.